Welcome along, fellow time travelers. This time around, we're going to travel back in time and check out John Lennon's apartment as it looked in the late 1800s. All of the images that you will see are based on actual rooms in apartment number 72. This show is sponsored by CampfireShop.com. More on that later. John Lennon and Yoko Ono moved into their first apartment at the Dakota in 1973. They initially sublet apartment number 72 from actor Robert Ryan before purchasing it and eventually acquiring several other units in the building. It's estimated they paid about $150,000 for it, which is the equivalent to about $1.1 million in today's dollars. But if John and Yoko lived there in the late 19th century, they would have leased their apartment, just like all the other residents at the time. That's because the Dakota was owned entirely by the Clark family. The Dakota was revolutionary. It was run like a luxury family hotel for the affluent. John Lennon would have lived like a Victorian rock star. The massive apartments had high ceilings, multiple fireplaces, oak paneling, and modern perks like electricity, which was rare then, hydraulic elevators, central heating, and a private courtyard for carriages to turn around and for socializing with neighbors. They may have had their own servants, but the Dakota provided servants to handle just about everything. Gourmet meals were prepared in the basement kitchen for the private restaurant or for direct service to the apartments. Laundry was done on site. Shoe shining was done on site. And there was even a barbershop in the basement. The location was remote, but Central Park offered escapes for walks and for boating. No doubt John and Yoko would have enjoyed opulent evenings at the opera, as well as wild nights at vaudeville theaters, and composing songs by gaslight when at home. Finished in 1884, Dakota residents frequently stayed for decades, sometimes entire lifetimes or multi-generational. So, most likely only about 2 to 4 families occupied that specific apartment over the course of 89 years. But no doubt decor and furnishings have changed over time, and I'm going to show you that in this series. So what did apartment number 72 look like in the late 1800s? And what was it like to live there? Well, let's zoom on back to that time and see for ourselves. With the exception of renovating the kitchen and adding or removing a few doors here and there, the layout has remained the same. The apartment is entered through large oak doors and into a grand entryway. There is a separate service elevator for staff accessing the kitchen. They would enter the apartment this way in order to clean the ash from the fireplaces and deliver wood, coal, and ice. All of the bedrooms and entertaining rooms either faced West 72nd Street or Central Park for light and views. The kitchen and dining room overlooked the quiet courtyard. In the 1880s, the rooms were decorated in grand Victorian elegance. 12-foot high ceilings with intricate plaster moldings, parquet floors of oak and cherry and mahogany, and carved marble fireplaces in nearly every room. Drawing rooms featured velvet drapes, heavy mahogany furniture, gas chandeliers, and walls lined with dark wainscoting or silk damask. Libraries held leather-bound books, and dining rooms glowed under crystal. In the 1880s, luxury meant steam heat from basement boilers warming the radiators, gas lighting, with early electric options from on-site dynamos, cast iron coal stoves in the kitchen, wooden ice boxes for perishables, and brass plumbing in porcelain baths. Early gramophones appeared later in the decade for music. Singer sewing machines stitched household linens. Daily life reflected the shift. In the 1880s, wealthy families with up to 5 live-in servants followed structured routines. Maids lit fires at dawn, cooks prepared multi-course meals, formal dinners entertained guests in the large dining rooms. The neighbors were Gilded Age elites, businessmen, industrialists, all of whom were early adopters of apartment living like the Steinway piano family. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Hey look, are you having trouble falling asleep or relaxing? I bet you do. Are you looking for all natural supplements to help manage your blood pressure, glucose, or cholesterol? And are you dealing with prostate or other issues? Well, if so, then kindly check out the all-natural supplements at campfireshop.com. They are formulated from ancient remedies. They also have handcrafted soy candles and premium teas. Ordering via the link below helps support my research and productions. Alrighty, now let's return to our story. For the men in these households, their days centered on business and social networks. The husband, often a banker, railroad magnate, or industrialist, or business owner, left early for Wall Street or downtown offices via horse-drawn carriage or emerging elevated trains. He managed fortunes, attended exclusive men's clubs, and returned for evening dinners or for opera outings with his family. Leisure included rides through Central Park or cigar-filled discussions with peers. Women, as mistresses of the household, oversaw the domestic sphere. They managed servants, hiring and firing the housekeeper or nursemaid, planned elaborate social events, paid calls on other elite women, and hosted teas or dinners to maintain family status. Many changed outfits multiple times a day: morning dresses, afternoon visiting attire, and evening gowns for a life of conspicuous luxury and philanthropy. While some pursued charity or emerging women's causes, the focus was on upholding elegance and a social hierarchy. Children living in this apartment enjoyed privileged routines far from the era's widespread child labor. Boys and girls often had private tutors or governesses at home for lessons in reading, languages, music, and etiquette. Older boys might attend elite prep schools or boarding institutions, preparing for business or university. Younger ones played in the apartment's sunlit rooms, the courtyard, or supervised outings to Central Park, or in Clark Park, located to the west of the Dakota. Nursemaids handled daily care, while family emphasized moral upbringing, manners, and preparation for inheriting wealth and status. Evenings brought structured family time, perhaps reading aloud or playing the piano or other musical instruments, before bed in quiet, high-ceilinged nurseries. This was a world of rigid roles and opulent routine, where family life revolved around display, etiquette, and legacy, worlds away from the creative, private existence that John and Yoko would bring nearly a century later. So, what do you think of John and Yoko's apartment in the late 1800s? If you're rolling in dough and could travel back in time, would you live in an apartment like that? You know I would. Would you trade modern freedoms for a golden age grandeur? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please remember to check out my sponsor, campfireshop.com, for all natural supplements, soy candles, awesome teas, and more. Ordering from campfireshop.com is a great way to support my research and productions. You could also go on Amazon and order any of the books that I wrote about the Dakota. You could also support my research and productions by joining me on Patreon and making a donation. All links are in the description below. Until next time, especially if you travel back in time and head on over to the Dakota to visit the residence of apartment number 72 in the late 1800s. I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.